Hello and welcome to VPOD.ai. I'm Mike, and I'm genuinely excited to be guiding us through today's discussion. I'm joined by Susan, our resident expert, who is here to help us unpack the science and really make sense of some fascinating health research. Welcome.
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
Before we jump into the good stuff, I have a quick message for our listeners. You can sponsor this podcast for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, visit VPOD.ai to get started today.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Exactly. So, let's pivot right to what we are here to talk about today. Bone health.
Yes. A big topic.
It is, but I feel like, if I were to walk out onto the street right now and ask 10 random people what they need to eat for strong bones, I guarantee you 9 of them, maybe even all 10, are going to say one single word.
Milk.
Milk. Right? We are completely conditioned to think that bone health begins and ends with a tall glass of dairy. It's practically synonymous at this point.
It is. And look, calcium and dairy are the celebrities of the bone health world. They get all the press. They have the great PR teams.
Right.
But the biological reality of our skeletons is much, much more complex than just pouring milk on your morning cereal.
So we're kind of missing the forest for the trees here.
In a way, yeah. The mission for our discussion today is to explore 10 specific foods that have absolutely nothing to do with dairy, but are absolute powerhouses for skeletal strength.
Okay.
We're going to look at the unsung heroes, nutrients like magnesium, potassium, vitamin K, because these are the things that actually make the entire system work.
I love that concept, the unsung heroes. But before we get to the actual grocery list, you mentioned something really interesting in the notes. You said we need to change how we picture our bones entirely.
Yes, absolutely. Most people think of their skeleton as this static, dry scaffolding.
Like a Halloween decoration. Right?
Exactly, like a steel frame inside a building. Once it's built, it just sits there holding you up.
Yeah.
But that's entirely wrong. Bones are living tissue.
Living tissue.
Constantly changing living tissue. They are undergoing a process called remodeling every single day of your life.
Wow.
You have cells that are actively tearing down old bone and other cells that are right behind them building new bone to replace it. It's basically a construction site that never, ever closes.
So it's not just about depositing calcium like putting money in a bank vault.
Not at all. It's about managing that construction site. It's about preventing the demolition crew from working way too fast and giving the building crew the right raw materials well beyond just calcium bricks to maintain that microscopic architecture.
That is a massive shift in perspective. It's dynamic, not static.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get to these raw materials then. We have 10 foods to cover. Number 1 on the list is something that, well, let's just say it has a bit of a reputation.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
Prunes.
Yes.
Dried plums. I feel like prunes are exclusively marketed to, shall we say, the older demographic. It's the punchline of a lot of sitcom jokes.
It definitely is, and that's a real shame because the data on prunes is incredibly compelling. They are actually one of the most researched fruits specifically for bone health.
Really? What makes a wrinkled plum so special for my skeleton?
It comes down to 2 main things, polyphenols and potassium. We tend to think of inflammation as something that only happens to our joints or our muscles.
Yeah, like a sore knee.
Right. But inflammation affects bone turnover too. The polyphenols in prunes help reduce that systemic inflammation, and that limits the bone breakdown.
Ah, so they slow down that demolition crew we just talked about.
Precisely. And the research gets very specific here. There are studies suggesting that eating about 50 grams a day can actively support bone mineral density.
50 grams?
Yes, and that was particularly noted in postmenopausal women who are naturally at a higher risk. But the biological mechanism applies broadly to everyone.
Okay, 50 grams. What does that actually look like in real life? Am I sitting down and eating a whole bag of prunes?
No, thankfully. It's about 5 or 6 prunes a day.
Oh, 5 or 6. Okay, that's totally manageable. That's not exactly a hardship.
Not at all. Throw them in oatmeal, eat them as a snack. Very easy.
All right, let's move to number 2. Now, this one requires a bit of an adventurous palate for some people, specifically because of the texture. We're talking about canned fish, but specifically the kind with the bones still in it.
Yes. Canned salmon or sardines.
Now, I've had people tell me they just cannot get past the crunch. I mean, you're eating the spine.
I know it sounds intense, but those bones are pressure cooked. They are soft and completely edible. And because they are actual bones, they are essentially the perfect ready-made package of bone building material.
Makes sense.
It's a highly, highly absorbable form of calcium.
So you are quite literally eating what you want to become.
In a sense, yes. But it's not just the calcium that makes this great. These fish are a superpower food because they are a triple threat.
Okay, what are the other two?
Well, you get the calcium from the bones, but you also get vitamin D, which is notoriously hard to get from food, and you get omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay, we hear about omega-3s for heart health and brain health all the time. What are they doing for our skeletons?
Remember that remodeling process, the construction site.
Right.
Omega-3s help regulate it. They help reduce inflammation, which again is the key to keeping the balance between bone breakdown and bone formation. If you are someone who cannot do dairy, for whatever reason, canned sardines are arguably one of the absolute best substitutions you can make.
So, long story short, embrace the crunch.
Embrace the crunch. It is worth it.
All right, let's shift gears to the plant kingdom for a minute. Food number 3, beans and lentils. Now, I usually think of beans for fiber or maybe plant protein. I definitely don't think of strong bones.
And that's exactly why they're on this list. This brings us to the chemistry of retention.
Retention?
Right. It's not enough to just eat calcium. You have to actually keep it in your body. Beans and lentils are incredibly rich in magnesium and potassium.
Why do those two specific minerals matter so much?
Think of magnesium as the manager on the site. It regulates calcium metabolism. If you don't have enough magnesium, your body simply can't effectively use the calcium you've consumed.
Okay. And potassium?
Potassium is like the plumber.
The plumber. I like that.
Yes. It stops the leaks. Potassium helps reduce the amount of calcium we lose through urination. If your diet is really high in sodium, for example, your body tends to excrete a lot more calcium. Potassium comes in and helps counter that effect.
So regular bean consumption is basically sealing the leaks in the plumbing system, so you aren't just flushing your hard-earned nutrients away.
That is exactly it. Regular legume consumption is tightly linked to improved overall bone health, primarily because it supports that retention.
I really love that image. Stop the leaks. Okay, let's look at number 4. We have to talk about greens, but wait, let me guess. You're going to say kale?
I am actually going to broaden the horizon a bit here.
Okay.
Kale is great, don't get me wrong, but we are looking at things like bok choy, collard greens, and turnip greens.
Ah, the real heavy hitters of the produce aisle.
Yes. And the star player here isn't just calcium, though they do provide some. It's actually vitamin K.
Vitamin K. You know, I feel like this is a vitamin that people completely forget about. We talk about C and D and B12. K gets ignored.
It gets completely ignored, but it is crucial. You can think of vitamin K as the activator.
How so?
Well, your body produces these proteins that are responsible for mineralization, basically, taking the minerals you eat and cementing them into the actual bone matrix.
Right.
But those proteins are completely inactive until vitamin K comes along and switches them on.
So without vitamin K, the workers are just standing around the construction site holding blueprints, but nobody has given them the green light to start building.
Exactly. The calcium is there, the protein is there, but nothing is actually getting built because the switch hasn't been flipped.
That is wild. It really is a team sport.
It absolutely is. You can't just rely on one star player.
Let's look at something a bit more snackable. Number 5. Nuts and seeds. Are we talking about any specific ones here?
We're looking heavily at almonds, chia seeds, sesame seeds, and pumpkin seeds.
So basically a nice, robust trail mix.
A very functional trail mix. These tiny things provide a dense matrix of nutrients. You get magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, and healthy fats. It's this perfect little cluster of everything your bones need to maintain their density over time.
Are there any absolute standouts in that group?
Hazelnuts are fantastic, but I really want to give a special shout out to tahini.
The sesame seed paste?
Yes. Tahini is surprisingly high in calcium.
Oh, interesting. So having a little hummus with a heavy dose of tahini is actually a bone-healthy snack.
It very much is. The big takeaway here is that you don't need to eat massive heavy meals to get these benefits. Even small daily servings of these seeds and nuts help fill the nutrient gaps that over decades can quietly weaken your bone strength.
Filling the gap seems to be the running theme here. It's not one magic bullet. It's just closing all the loopholes in your diet.
Exactly right.
Moving on to number 6. Now, this one is a fridge staple for almost everyone. Eggs. But we have to settle a long-standing debate right here and now. White or yolk? Which one is the winner?
For bone health, it's the yolk. Hands down. No contest.
I knew it. The yolk is always where the good stuff is hiding.
It really is. The yolk provides a solid dose of vitamin D. And as we mentioned earlier with the fish, vitamin D is the gatekeeper.
Right.
You can consume all the calcium in the world, eat it by the spoonful, but without vitamin D, your body literally cannot absorb it from your gut into your bloodstream. It's useless.
So the egg white is just protein then?
Mostly, yes. But actually that brings up the second crucial mechanism for eggs, the safety angle.
The safety angle, what do you mean by that?
Well, eggs provide high-quality, very bioavailable protein, which heavily supports muscle function. We have to remember that our bones don't just float around in space.
Right, hopefully not.
They are moved, and more importantly, they are protected by our muscles. Strong muscles prevent falls. And preventing falls is the absolute #1 way to prevent bone fractures as we age.
That makes total sense when you frame it like that. You can have the strongest, densest bones on Earth, but if you have weak muscles and you keep tripping and falling down onto concrete, you're really testing your luck.
Exactly. It's a completely integrated system. You protect the bone by building the armor around it.
Okay, number 7. This category is super trendy right now, but usually for gut health. Fermented foods. We're talking yogurt, kefir, miso, sauerkraut. How on earth does fermented cabbage connect to my skeleton?
It connects directly through the gut. We actually have a saying in clinical nutrition, you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb.
I really like that.
It's true. You can have the most perfect, scientifically calibrated diet, but if your gut microbiome is a total mess and you have low-grade inflammation in your digestive tract, you might not be absorbing those nutrients efficiently anyway. Fermented foods improve that gut environment, which enhances the overall absorption of everything we've talked about.
Is there any specific nutrient benefit besides just the general absorption upgrade?
Yeah. There is, and it's a big one. Some fermented dairy products contain vitamin K2. Now, we talked about regular vitamin K earlier with the greens, but K2 has a very cool, very specific role.
What does it do?
It helps direct the calcium into the bones and keeps it out of soft tissues like your arteries.
Oh, wow. So it's literally acting like a traffic cop, pointing and saying, you go to the femur, do not go to the heart.
That is the perfect analogy. You desperately want calcium in your skeleton, making it strong. You absolutely do not want calcium calcifying your arteries and valves. K2 helps your body make that crucial distinction.
That is fascinating. The body is so smart. Okay, number 8. This one genuinely surprised me when I saw the outline. Sweet potatoes.
Yes. The humble root vegetable.
I usually just think of them as a slightly healthier, sweeter version of white potatoes. Why are they so good for bones?
It comes right back to body chemistry again. Sweet potatoes are incredibly rich in potassium, and this relates directly to the acid-base balance in the human body.
Acid-base balance. That sounds intensely like high school chemistry class. Break that down for us.
Our bodies tightly regulate our blood pH levels. If our system becomes too acidic, which often happens from a modern diet that's high in ultra-processed foods or heavy in protein but lacking in vegetables, the body urgently needs to neutralize that acid.
Right.
Do you know what the body uses as its primary buffer to neutralize acid?
I have a sinking feeling it has something to do with calcium.
It does. The body will actually leach calcium directly from the bones to buffer the acid in the blood. It sacrifices the skeleton to save the pH balance.
That is terrifying. It's literally cannibalizing itself.
It is, and obviously, ideally, we don't want that happening. Potassium helps neutralize those everyday acids so the body doesn't have to constantly raid the bone bank. Sweet potatoes are a fantastic whole food way to keep that balance in check.
Wow. Plus, they taste amazing, so it's a win-win.
And bonus points, they have a lot of vitamin C. And vitamin C is essential for collagen production.
Wait, collagen? Isn't that the stuff people put in expensive skin creams for wrinkles?
It is. But in your bones, collagen acts as the flexible framework. Think of a bone like a reinforced concrete pillar.
Okay.
The calcium and minerals are the sand and the rock. They make it hard. But the collagen is the steel rebar inside. It gives the bone flexibility so that if you jump or impact it, it bends slightly instead of just shattering under pressure.
So sweet potatoes are helping build the rebar.
Got it.
That is a great visual. All right, number 9 on our journey. Whole grains. Things like oats, quinoa, brown rice. I assume this comes down to the classic whole versus refined debate.
It really does. When you refine a grain, when you turn wheat into white flour or brown rice into white rice, you strip away the outer bran and germ layers.
Where's the healthy stuff?
Exactly. And those layers are exactly where the magnesium, the fiber, and the trace minerals actually live.
So slices standard white bread is basically empty calories as far as my bone health is concerned.
Pretty much. It's lost all the structural tools that bone metabolism requires. Whole grains keep those tools right there in the toolbox. Magnesium, as we've discussed, is so crucial for bone structure, and you lose massive amounts of it during that refining process.
It's amazing how magnesium just keeps coming up again and again. It really is the silent partner in all of this.
It is absolutely essential. You cannot have healthy bones without it.
All right, we've made it to number 10. The final food category, protein-rich foods. Now, we touched on this briefly with the eggs, but let's dive into the meat and bones concept.
So there used to be a pervasive myth out there that a high-protein diet was actually bad for your bones because it created acid.
Right, like we were just talking about with the sweet potatoes.
Exactly, but we know now that's not the whole story at all. Protein actually makes up a huge, huge portion of actual bone volume.
Wait, so the bones themselves are made of protein?
Yes. About 50% of your bone volume is protein. It forms the structural matrix that the minerals attach to, so we desperately need adequate protein, whether you're getting it from poultry, fish, tofu, or beans, to maintain that core structure.
And again, it maintains the muscle mass as we age, which stops the falls.
Right. It prevents frailty. As we get older, maintaining muscle is literally synonymous with maintaining independence and bone safety.
Okay, so that's our top 10. We've got prunes, canned fish with a crunch, beans, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, egg yolks, fermented foods, sweet potatoes, whole grains, and protein. That is a really solid grocery list.
It's a very colorful, very diverse grocery list.
But, we have to look at the other side of the coin here. We're doing all this hard work. We're eating our sardines and our prunes. Are there villains in this story? Are there common foods that are actively undoing all this hard work?
Unfortunately, yes. There are definite saboteurs.
Okay, who are the main culprits we need to watch out for?
The biggest, most common one is sodium. We touched on this with the potassium discussion. A high salt intake forces the kidneys to excrete more calcium. So if you eat a diet heavy in ultra-processed, very salty foods, you are effectively pushing calcium right out of your body.
So eating that bag of salty chips is actively fighting the benefits of the sardines.
It is. It's a tug of war. Then you have sugary beverages. They are a double whammy because they often displace nutrient-dense foods. I mean, if you're drinking a large soda, you aren't drinking water or a fortified beverage, but they also offer absolutely zero nutritional value for the skeleton.
Makes sense. What about coffee? Because I know a lot of our listeners are probably clutching their morning mugs in terror right now.
You can relax. You don't have to give it up completely. But excess caffeine from coffee, energy drinks, or tea can slightly decrease your calcium absorption.
Okay.
It's usually not a problem at all in moderation, but if you are drinking pot after pot all day long, it might start to have a real impact.
Got it. And what about alcohol?
Heavy alcohol intake is a major, major risk factor. It's tightly linked to significant bone loss and a much higher risk of fractures over time. It literally interferes with the function of those remodeling cells we talked about earlier.
So moderation, as always, is the key.
It really is. The dose makes the poison.
Well, honestly, this has been really eye-opening for me. When we started, I was genuinely just thinking, okay, tell me what else to eat besides a glass of milk.
Yeah.
But we've uncovered this entire complex biological ecosystem.
That's exactly the goal. It's so much more than just calcium.
So if we had to synthesize all of this for the listener who is, maybe standing in the middle of the grocery store right now, what is the big takeaway?
The biggest takeaway is that bone health is a team sport.
A team sport.
Yes. It is not a solo act performed by calcium. It involves vitamin K, magnesium, potassium, omega-3s, and gut health. The best strategy isn't to just obsess over a single nutrient or a single supplement. It's to eat a wide, varied diet that is rich in fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole foods.
Variety is the spice of life, and apparently the structural integrity of your skeleton.
Absolutely. It supports that constant daily remodeling process.
Well, before we let everyone go, is there one final thought you want to leave us with? Something for us to chew on?
I think the most provocative thing to remember about all of this is this. Your skeleton is completely replaced, cell by cell, roughly every decade or so.
Wait, really? Every 10 years?
Yes. The skeleton you are walking around with right now is not the exact same one you had 10 years ago. It has been entirely rebuilt.
That is wild to think about.
So the question you really have to ask yourself isn't just, are my bones strong today? The real question is, what quality of materials am I providing for the skeleton I will have 10 years from now? You are quite literally building your future body with every single meal you eat.
I love that. You are the architect of your future skeleton. Thank you so much for joining us and breaking all of this down.
It was a pleasure being here.
And thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.